The justifiability of animal experimentation is highly contested by two main positions. Outright opposition makes the moral argument that animal experimentation is entirely unacceptable because of the suffering it causes. This position argues benefits are not proved, questions the interchangeability of animal and human trials on the basis of anatomical and physiological differences, and claims that results could be produced in other ways. Supporters of animal experimentation argue undeniable benefits for both humans and animals justify animal experimentation. They advocate a code of ethics in animal research to reduce suffering, mainly through the implementation of the 3 R's: reduction of animals used, refinement to reduce suffering where possible, and replacement with other techniques. The scientific validity of arguments on both sides is questionable. In The Moral Dilemma of Animal Research, Ringark argues that it is fact that animal research has been able to alleviate much human and non-human suffering. Supporting this claim, he cites a renowned Kommer and Dripps article linking animal experimentation to 10 key advances in cardiovascular medicine. They concluded that 62% of relevant animal experiments were essential to advances. Ringark is misrepresenting these findings and applying a false causation by linking animal research to the alleviation of human suffering rather than simply to claim medical advances. Furthermore, this paper was published 40 years ago, and its scientific validity has been intensely questioned since. Indeed, a more recent paper attempted to recreate the results of Kommer and Dripps. They used various survey techniques and bibliometric analysis of thousands of papers, finding that only between 2 and 21% of animal research studies could be linked to clinical trials and later advances. On these results, they made the valid and scientific argument that there needs to be a greater understanding of how basic research supports clinical advances. In an article in The Guardian, behavioural neuroscientist Dr. Obaro Evahoho makes a similar claim to Ringark, that benefits of the use of animals in medical research are obvious and quantifiable. This claim is not supported by any scientific evidence and rests on various assumptions of what is obvious, quantifiable, and beneficial. Owing to these assumptions, this argument is often perceived as a false causation. To investigate these claims, a team of researchers systematically reviewed animal studies and corresponding human clinical trials, finding no correlation. However, of 277 potential papers, they cherry-picked only 6 which they deemed relevant for various criteria. Despite this, their scientific and political argument that the value of animal research into potential human treatment needs rigorous evaluation is still valid. In an article on their website, Americans for Animal Experimentation claim that despite claims by animal rights activists, it is undeniable that animal-based research has contributed to the length and quality of our lives. This argument appears scientific and is supported by extensive examples of various diseases ranging from AIDS to cancer and includes a long list of scientific sources. However, there are various red herrings and misrepresentations throughout, where therapies and treatments are implied to have resulted from animal research without actually demonstrating a clear link. General arguments from authorities, such as sentences beginning with "doctors believe," are also used, at one time even citing actor Alec Baldwin, and the argument is therefore moderately invalid. An article by the ETA makes a highly emotional and economic argument that billions of US taxpayers' dollars are being wasted annually to pay for cruel experiments on animals in laboratories. This is a red herring, drawing a false link between funding wastefulness and experimental cruelty. They argue that 40% of the National Health Institute's budget is allocated to animal research, and this amounts to $14 billion of the 2014 budget. Though this data is sound, the article frequently misrepresents data and commits strawman fallacies, such as with sentences like $1.6 million spent turning mice and monkeys into alcoholics, which entirely overlooks research goals and ethical guidelines. Furthermore, an image of a large monkey undermines the fact that the vast majority of test subjects are actually mice. Though this argument is neither strong nor scientifically valid, it is highly provocative and convincing. The scientific validity of each of these arguments is questionable, and numerous fallacies are committed. All too often, debate sinks into questions of morality that are culturally constructed around the notion of pain, suffering, and death as being an immoral quality. In doing so, it is overlooked that suffering is an intrinsic condition of existence, enacted and experienced by many organisms. Furthermore, the debate falsely attempts to quantify and compare the value of human and animal suffering.